Let's get the obvious disclaimers out of the way, and we'll get right back to it. Presented by XABCDtrading.com. Want to know what could shake the market this week and where we could see the biggest moves? Here are the highlights of what you need to know that could rattle the market. Whether you trade futures, Forex, or stocks, it's all right now. Brought to you by XABCDtrading.com.
Okay, that should be working now. We did an old support and resistance video years ago, and people still watch it, I guess. We got a question to go through some more examples. So I thought instead of doing a whole nother video on that, maybe we'll just try doing it live and seeing if that works out any better, and obviously be quicker for me. So we'll see if that helps at all. Maybe we'll do more of them if you guys want, but feel free if you want to type in any instruments that you do want to look at, and I'll definitely include them as we go through this. I'm going to just kind of start off and tell you how I draw in support resistance, and hopefully it's something that you guys can find helpful. But the way I do it is not necessarily the only way, and it's not the way you have to do it, but it's just a way that a lot of people that we work with in our group at XABCD Trading, they like it, and I think it's pretty straightforward. So with that being said, let's kind of see where we can take this. Let's see here. Okay, so I have a chart up. This is the pound dollar. You can do this in anything, futures, Forex, or stocks. So if there's anything that you do want to look at, by all means, type it in, and we can definitely kick that off too. Okay, so the way I draw support and resistance in, just kind of getting to it, is I'll look at where we have a lot of the most obvious highs or lows in a market, and I will connect them. Now, this chart is looking a little bit more like a channel if you go out, and I argue this is more like a daily chart. But if you go into like a 4-hour where you can actually see the widths of the bars and everything like that, we can use this as a starting point of where we would draw that in. So I'm going to take the furthest pip out in this case, and we'll go through a few examples so that you kind of get a hang of it. And we'll take this all the way down to where most of the candlesticks touch. So I'm looking at these ones here as a way of starting from the furthest point out, which is all the way up here, the A point of this pattern, but that doesn't matter. The fact that it's our high, connecting it with these ones here. So this is going to be basically a whole area or a zone, as we would call it, as resistance. So anywhere in there, we would look for a point or an opportunity where we might want to see price bounce. And then the support side of it is going to go all the way down, let's just say the furthest pip out to where most of these candlesticks touch. Now we'll get to, Frank, I see your NQ, so we'll do that one in a second, and we'll do it on futures as well. And if you want to do it on a stock or something like that, we can do that too. But it's basically going to be this area here where we have, again, areas where we have had prior lows kind of retest that area, and now it's respected that, and we now have an area or a zone for support. Now, I want to be clear about one thing. Actually, maybe better if I did this. So you need to have 3 points, okay? So this would be 1, and then 2 would be down here, and then the other side of your chart would be 3. So that would be the way I would kind of map this whole thing in. Now, if you only have 2, like for instance, we only have this high or low, it's not that obvious. That's not good enough for me. I need 3. So I need 2 on one side, so 2 resistance points, 2 support, or the other way around. And I also don't want to have it where I have 1 up here and then 2 more down below, right? I want to see them. I mean, that's not preferred. We can still use it, but I want to see them opposite each other. So just keep that in mind as we look at our charts. And hopefully we can see that in a few examples going forward, but that would be ideal. So if we're looking for something that is, I don't know, somewhat clear, then that's what we would look for. So let's pull up another chart. You want to look at, Frank, you want to look at the NQ. That's going to be, let's see here. You said the 4 hour too. Okay, so the other thing about the 4 hour is I feel like the 4 hour is a great chart for a Monday. That would kind of give you enough time for a weekly sort of view. If you look at support resistance from a 15-minute, it's probably going to be more like the next 36 to 48 hours. So just keep that in mind when we look at time frames, as this is probably going to extend over the weekend, and with everything that's happening in the world, you might not want to hold a trade over the weekend. Anyways, so that is, or that should be okay like that. This is probably going to look more like a channel. So we can draw this in the same way. Well, it's probably looking more like support. Let's take this as our furthest point out, and we'll bring it in where most of these candlesticks touch. And again, support, it's going to be the same way. So the furthest point out to where most of these candlesticks kind of touch. I'm not so concerned about where it starts because I'm not going to look at getting in the second we actually hit that zone. I want to see when we get a little bit deeper in where we can actually see it respect that area of support resistance. So I'm not so concerned about where I'm bringing it down to, but I do want to try and get that area. So we are capturing a lot of these prior highs, right? And a lot of these lows here are all going to form this area of support. You could even argue that you can bring this down a bit and be a little bit more specific on where support would be. So that's how I would be drawing this in for, let's just say, our support resistance on the NQ, right? And I think that hopefully kind of makes sense and is pretty easy to follow. Let's go through another example. If you don't use NinjaTrader, this is what the platform is. If you were curious, we can just type in the symbol. So ES contracts June 22, and it's a 15-minute chart, for instance. We can look at something smaller like that. So again, we are trying to find an area of support. I mean, we'd probably want to add a bit more data to this chart because we're not quite seeing everything that we should. So let me add this in, and we're going to be looking at putting in, maybe actually we'll probably put this in as 3,000. And actually with a lot more bars. So we do have an area of support that we can definitely use. Resistance, not so much, right? So this is what I was talking about earlier when we have our support and resistance kind of like defined for us. We don't want to see 2 on the bottom and 1 on top. It's nice to see 1 at top and then 1 at the bottom, 1 at top again, and then we actually trade the 4th point, which would be the 1 at the bottom, right? So that's what we would like to see. So our resistance in this case is going to go out to about 45.20, and you could go back even further, and you'll probably find that we went higher, but you're going to be on a different time frame. So we're trying to stick to drawing that support resistance on the time frame that we're looking at. So that would be our support area, that would be our resistance up here, and support would be down here using these 2 points, which I think is going to be pretty obvious. But again, you're looking at where most of those candlesticks kind of touch as being that zone that we're looking for support. And once you do this a few times, you see a few charts, you'll definitely get a hang of it. We can look at bonds if you want, like something a little bit more tailoring, I guess, maybe a different group. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find one, because this is definitely going to be the case where you have resistance, right? And let's just say we have support down here. We haven't really qualified that yet. But a lot of times between support resistance, you can find channels, and it works the exact same way, right? So you'll take a trend channel and you will line up a lot of these highs. And again, it's going to be a zone as well, right? And you can do the same thing with support. Now, what I do is I always start with the most obvious side. So in this case, it would have been resistance for me. And once you draw in resistance, you can see where that parallel support would be. So I think it kind of helps you draw that out. But that would be your support area. Let me just see if I can pull this down. What is it? There we go. Right, all the way through here. So that would be like another sort of zone. And then you would be drawing in, or I guess trading your resistance zone probably pretty soon. But considering we've also bounced off the support, you might not want to be doing that right now. But that's a whole new story. But yeah, that's how I would draw it in. So it doesn't matter if you want to look at stocks, like we can look at Nvidia. I think that's a popular one. It's been asked about quite a bit in our sessions there. Where would you draw in support, right? I think, 210, that furthest point out to where most of these lows are, should be an obvious place. And if you're looking at this from an intraday, you're probably, you could go higher. You could look at this is probably more like a 15-minute. But if you were looking at an intraday level, I mean, I'd be drawing an area of resistance in like this, right? Where we could be using these highs and even our prior highs there for the day as a point where we could be looking for an area that price might reverse, right? Now, if you went out to like a longer term 4 hour, again, you're extending it probably about 4 days you're looking for support resistance. I think it's probably a bit long to be doing at the end of the week. I think drawing it in off like a 15 or 30 minute might be more than enough time to last you the 48 hours or so that the week still has left in it, whether or not you're trading the ES or whatever you're trading. But again, this is your 4 hour, right? So that was before, I guess, the split. So totally different time frame, totally different areas that you'll be drawing in support resistance, right? So this would be obviously our big area of support. Resistance will have to use the highs. We don't have a lot to qualify that, but we do when it comes down to support. So obviously maybe we might want to be taking heavier longs, right? Considering we have a better idea where our support zone is. But then you see on our 5 minute what we could be looking at, or 15, depending on how small of a time frame you want to trade, that you might be able to be doing stuff more intraday, where this is more like swing trades. So hopefully that kind of gives you an idea about how we're going to draw in areas of support resistance. I think the way I set this up is to type in comments. You have to be subscribed. So if you do want to get alerts for these in the future, I have no plans on setting like a set schedule for them. But if they are something that you like, let me know in the comments, and we'll definitely try to do them again if you guys want to. Maybe do it on like a Monday or Tuesday, something earlier on in the week, so we have a little bit more time, and see where the market goes, and maybe do like a recap on Friday or something. But anyways, if you do want to get notified to these, make sure you do subscribe there and turn on that bell. Otherwise, I guess we'll wrap up. Like I was saying at the beginning, if you didn't catch it, I was doing this as a way to do some examples for someone that asked with our old support resistance video. If you go to our, I wish I had a way of getting a browser in here, but if you go to our main video page, go to the oldest ones, you'll see we did one on support resistance. And that was the one that we're kind of referring to and updating with some more current examples. So any questions, let me know. Drop them in the comments. I'll answer them in a bit. Otherwise, be safe, and we will see you guys in the next video or live stream or whatever comes next. All right, guys, take care. All the best. Cheers.